am the living legend of hair loss. I am your hair loss daddy. I am your father figure. You need me in your life. This is true. No one could ever argue against that. But perhaps after this video is complete, I will be assigned a new name. Let's find out. Here it is. So, I've been receiving some hilarious comments from someone named Bruno Lafleur. So these started rolling in since I did my last batch of videos, and I'm kind of doing this thing where I'm making, a week or two worth of videos and then taking off for a week or two. I've noticed that it boosts subscribership to do so, because you start to miss me after you just binge watched a bunch of videos. And I'm purposely binge dropping videos to sort of mimic Netflix. So Bruno, first time I remember seeing Bruno show up, it was on a video I made called Famous Hair Loss YouTubers, How Bald Cafe has a different demographic than my channel. So here's the comment. Here's the first one I recall seeing. Quote, "Hi Nick, just came from a video you posted 3 years ago, and my initial thought was, who is this handsome young thick-haired YouTuber? So I investigated and came to your most recent video, this one, and thought, who is this old, balding Hollywood Jew?" So I love that. I authentically love that. And then a couple comments later, a new one came in within the hour, probably within 10 minutes. So the other video was called, "As an Atheist, do you agree that fasting can be a healthy decision?" So here's the next one from our friend Bruno Lafleur. Quote, "Hi Nick, when did you notice the transition from handsome young white guy to middle-aged Hollywood Jew? I noticed the rounding of the face and the thinning of the hair in most Jewish men around age 35. I think the tail and claws grow in around 50, end quote. Which, by the way, if we want to talk about a 50-year-old Hollywood Jew, just look at Paul Rudd. I think he's a little older than, maybe he's like 51, 52 now. But Paul Rudd, he's absolutely Jewish, and he's actually in his 50s. He would be the exception to the rule on so many things, because the average man should not look as good as Paul Rudd does, or I should say as youthful, because I still would submit to you that one of the best looking men on the planet would be Jason Statham. And he's not tall, and he doesn't have hair. Sort of like me, but he actually can't grow hair on top. And he has a lot of muscles, and he's very famous, and he's pretty, lots of differences there. But let's just focus on these comments. So let's start with the most recent one. This concept of Jewish men, their face getting rounder and their hair starting to thin around age 35. Well, my response to that is, that's most men, really. I mean, most white men, most Jewish men, most Muslim men around the age of 35, and this is something I regularly talk about in my videos, is that's the age, that's the determining age where you can worry all of your teenage years and all of your 20s thinking, am I going to go bald? Well, you're wasting your time worrying that, because until you're 35, you're not really going to know. 35 tells you, once you look in the mirror, okay, I'm either going to be balding the rest of my life, or I'm already bald, or whatever. But if you've still got most of your hair by 35, you're going to have most of your hair for most of the rest of your life. So I don't see how that's exclusive to Jewish men. Also talking about thinning, which for me, my thinning, not that it's too noticeable, but it started on my 30th birthday is the first time I noticed it. Rounding of the face, okay, well, I'll be the first to tell you, I'm a year and a half away from turning 40, and at age 35, I was a vegan. I'd been a vegan for a year and a half at that point, and after I turned 35, I slowly started gaining all my weight back, even though I remained as a vegan. So your metabolism changes. I just don't see how that's exclusive to Jewish men. But in general, yeah, age 35 is very important when it comes to male hair loss and those type of changes. Let's go back though to the original one, because I just want to unpack this. I want to address it. So the first one, where he's talking about how I was handsome 3 years ago and now I'm not. I think that's one of the interesting things about the last video I shot before I shaved off all my hair, and I said, look, in this past week, 2 different men, age 34, have known me for over a year, and they assumed I was the same age as them. When they found out, they were sincerely surprised that I wasn't the same age as them. And so part of, now that we've got this new batch of videos going on and the new look, something we have to, I think would be interesting to explore is, well, then how old do I look, especially now that I've changed? I mean, if I passed sincerely for age 34 to 2 guys who knew me but just didn't know how old I was, that they see me all the time and they've known me for over a year and they sincerely thought I was 34. Well, now that I got rid of the hair and I have the beard and unapologetically the gray showing up, do I look older than 34? Maybe someone even say I look younger than 34. It doesn't matter to me, because ultimately my confidence level and identity are not based on how I physically look. And when you're a man, it's not necessarily a bad thing to look older. Often it's a selling point. It's a thing that makes you fundamentally more attractive to people because you seem like you have more wisdom. That tends to go with the shaved head, that tends to go with the beard, the Papa Smurf look. So it's not like, oh no, I don't want to look older. The irony is that some of you sincerely might think I look younger with no hair and a beard, despite the gray, than from when I had hair. So that's for you to decide in the comments, of course. So I guess the last thing I want to tackle in this video. So yes, he's saying that I looked a lot younger 3 years ago, which 3 years ago, I was 35. I was at that age where changes start happening in a lot of men. But to say that I, am any less handsome now, again, that's for you to decide. It is all about your perspective and not really mine. So the final thing though is, Bruno is so dedicated to this thing about Hollywood Jew, which, hey, Paul Rudd, I already mentioned him, of many, Seth Rogen, of many. Who is this old balding Hollywood Jew? I like the fact that that was his thought process. Who is this balding, aging Hollywood Jew? So, in case you're new here, I need to address this in case you don't know, because now some of you are like, well, wait, are you a Hollywood Jew? As if, I just love that that's its own thing. Not are you Jewish, but are you a Hollywood Jew? That is so hilarious to me. So, for those of you who want to know, my mom took a DNA test and she's 15.2% Sephardic Jewish, which is Spanish Jewish, because she's half Mexican, half of her heritage goes to Mexico. The other half goes back to Italy, but apparently Spain, and apparently, there were Jewish people who were, I guess, forced to convert to Catholicism a long time ago. So yeah, undeniably, I have Jewish DNA in me that came through my mom's side. So yeah, if that's what you see in me, that's what you're seeing. But also the idea of Hollywood Jew, I just want to unpack that for a minute as well. Hollywood Jew. So when I think of what that's supposed to mean, it's ultimately that the United States made cinema what it is, today. And you look at all the studios in the United States that were funded over 100 years ago, it was Jewish men who started. I can even, just right off the top of my head, the line, and it growls and it's like Golden, Mayer, there's 3 names. They're all Jewish men, Mayer is a Jew, like John Mayer, his father's Jewish. Mayer is a Jewish last name. But it's this concept that if you're a Hollywood Jew, is someone who is a bit meta as far as understanding, hey, I can make money off this thing. Why don't I do it? Now, why isn't that attributed to Jewish people? Well, my final college paper that I did as an English major was talking about how Jewish people throughout history were kicked out of their country, onto the next one, and they had to be creative in finding ways to make money. And what was interesting is Jewish people were allowed to charge interest on loans. Christians and Muslims could not. So that was a major benefit that Jewish people had as they were kicked out of each country. By the time they made it to the United States, they were able to really help build this country. Without the influence of Jewish people in America, America would not be what it is. So the concept of, am I a Hollywood Jew? Now, by the way, I have been on TV on the Lifetime Network. I was on a show a couple of years ago called This Time Next Year. If you Google that, you'll find all about it. That's a true story. Yeah, Google this time next year, lifetime Nick Shell. You'll see what I'm saying. That's absolutely a fact. I was on that TV show. But specifically, if you know me at all, you know that ultimately, yes, I'm here to help younger guys sort out their fears about going bald. But ultimately, it's not just about helping people, it's about making money off of the ads that show before the videos. And, I'm going to be, let me go grab it real quick. And with the shaved head look, I'm going to be, putting a link in here. And for anybody who buys this or buys anything once they sign into Amazon, I get a cut of that pay. That's people all over the internet do that. I do it on my blog. I run a blog called Family Friendly Daddy Blog. I do it on both of my YouTube channels. So the more you're hearing me talking in this video, like, I think this is a hair loss video. Well, I'm explaining to you the concept of what Hollywood Jew means. It means, hey, I have a likable personality, I can communicate well, and while we're having a good time and you're enjoying my service here, my product, whatever thing I've created, I'm also making money off of this thing too. That's the mentality of a Hollywood Jew. Find a way to be creative, to make money even when people aren't realizing you're doing it, and if they're having a good time, they're not going to complain. So, with all that being said, perhaps I shall dub myself the balding Hollywood Jew. But that's not exactly true. You've seen me with hair. To say that I'm balding might be a stretch, because I've got a receding hairline, but that's not necessarily the same as balding. But I'll have to work this into my intros, because Hollywood Jew of hair loss, it's that simple. I'm the Hollywood Jew of hair loss. I love it. Your comments belong right here.